Shalom Israel, this is Brother Abediah. Before I start, I want to give all praises to Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahushai, Ba'ashem Rakar double honors to the elders and apostles in Israel who rule and teach well, to the Akims of the Iwas and Bywers pushing this word in truth and sincerity, to the brothers and sisters in the truth. Now, what I want to start off with is Genesis 6 and 1, because the point is, from the beginning, the Lord God has always wanted his people to social isolate. This social isolation that we hear about today is not a new term or a new aspect. You know, like I said, from the beginning, God wanted his chosen people, and there's the seed line of his chosen people going down from Adam to us becoming a nation, to social isolate from the other nations, you know, not to pick up the other nations as wives, etc. I just want to go through a few scriptures that to show that this is something that the Lord has always wanted us to do, and us not doing that has been one of the reasons why we're in the situations we're in today. Now this is Genesis chapter 6 verse 1. And it came to pass, when men began to multiply on the face of the earth, and daughters were born unto them, that the sons of God saw the daughters of men that they were fair, and they took them wives of all which they chose. Now these sons of God are talking about the descendants of Adam. It's not talking about angels. Yeah, and it says that they saw that the daughters of men, that they were fair, meaning they looked upon the ladies of the other nations and saw that they were beautiful, and they took them wives of all which they chose. Now, just to show that the sons of God is talking about men, you know, going back from Adam's seed line and not angels. This is Luke chapter 3. I'll quickly make a point in 23. It says, this is Luke chapter 3 verse 23, and Yahushua himself began to be about 30 years of age, being, as was supposed, the son of Joseph, which was the son of Eli. Now, when it says there, as was supposed, a lot of people don't realize that this as was supposed is only confirming or giving more understanding on the statement itself. This sentence should read the same without as was supposed in. So if your understanding, if your understanding of as was supposed is changing the meaning of the sentence with it in, then that means your understanding is wrong. For instance, some people saying that where it says as was supposed, you know, meaning that people thought that was the case. But what this sentence actually reads, it says, and Yahushua himself began to be about 30 years of age, being the son of Joseph, which was the son of Eli. So when it says as was supposed, that's only confirming that he was the son of Joseph, yeah, which is letting you know that Yahushua wasn't immaculate birth as the Christian church teaches. So it says Luke 3 and 23, and Yahushua himself began to be about 30 years of age, being, as was supposed, the son of Joseph, which was the son of Eli. Now what happened? It goes down through genealogies, and we'll start at 37. It says, which was the son of Methuselah, which was the son of Enoch, which was the son of Jared, which was the son of Maliliel, which was the son of Canaan, which was the son of Enos, which was the son of Seth, which was the son of Adam, which was the son of God. So when we come back to Genesis 6 and 6, and it says, and it came to pass, when men began to multiply on the face of the earth, and daughters were born unto them, that the sons of God, the descendants of Adam, saw the daughters of men, that they were fair, that they were beautiful. And they took them wives of all which they chose. And the Lord said, my spirit shall not always strive with man. So this bit here even lets you know that these sons of God is talking about man. Because if it was angels, why is the Lord upset with man? So it says, and the Lord said, my spirit shall not always strive with man, for that he also is flesh, yet his days shall be 120 years. So because our forefathers, decided to look at the other nations, the women of the other nations, and take them for wife, that peed the Most High off. And what did he do? He cut down our lifespan. This is Deuteronomy chapter 32 verse 8. It says, when the Most High divided to the nations their inheritance, excuse me, when he separated the sons of Adam, yeah, because this is what he did. He separated the sons of Adam, and then the sons of Adam started to look on the women of the other nations and took them for wives. But it says, when the Most High divided to the nations their inheritance, when he separated the sons of Adam, he set the bounds of the people according to the number of the children of Israel. So, we'll quickly go into this. It says, when the Most High divided. So when he divided, let's see what this one is.
Strong's H, 5157. Nachal. Nachal.
So when it says the Most High divided, it says to get as a possession, acquire, inherit, possess. To take possession, inherit. So the divided was the Most High giving each nations their land, yeah, for their possessions. Now let's go back. So it says when the Most High divided to the nations their inheritance, he separated. So let's see what this word there is.
Strong's H, 6504. Pared. Pared.
It says separate. To separate, divide, to divide, divide, separate, to be divided. So you get the message, you know, to divide, to separate. Come down here now, it says a primitive root to break through, i.e. spread or separate oneself. Yeah, so he separated the people them and gave them their own land. Disperse, divide, be out of joint, part, scatter abroad, separate self, sever self, stretch, sunder. So from the beginning, the Most High didn't want his people, going from Adam, the seed line of Adam, down to us becoming a nation. He never wanted us to marry the women of the other nations. Now when we come to Deuteronomy chapter 7 verse 3, this is now after we had left Egypt and we were going into the land of Canaan, to possess it. So this is Deuteronomy 7 and 1. It says, when the Lord thy God shall bring thee into the land, whether thou goest to possess it, and hast cast out many nations before thee, the Hittites and the Girgasites, and the Amorites, and the Canaanites, and the Perizzites, and the Hivites, and the Jebusites, 7 nations greater and mightier than thou. It says, and when the Lord thy God shall deliver them before thee, thou shalt smite them and utterly destroy them. Thou shalt make no covenant with them, nor show mercy unto them. It says, neither shalt thou make marriages with them. Thy daughter thou shalt not give unto his son, nor his daughter shalt thou take unto thy son. And why is that? It says, for they will turn away thy son from following me, that they may serve other gods. So will the anger of the Lord be kindled against you, and destroy thee suddenly. And this is what happened to us here. When we read Genesis, we decided to pick up the women of the other nations and have them as wife. And obviously we end up going off. This is why the Most High was angry and cut down our lifespan. And us not separating ourselves from the women and the people of the other nations, that has always been an issue for Israel. And that has always caused us problems. Yeah, it's never been a good thing. Well, we've not isolated ourselves from the women of the other nations, when we've not social isolated. Like I said, these things are written in the scriptures for us to learn from. This is Nehemiah 13 verse 23. So it says, in those days also I saw Jews that had married wives of Ashdod, of Ammon, and of Moab. So it's not just speaking about the Hamites, them, because some brothers will read this and say, oh, it's only talking about the Ammites. But we see here in Nehemiah, the same thing is being applied. So Nehemiah 13:23, in those days also saw I Jews that had married wives of Ashdod, of Ammon, and of Moab. And their children spake often the speech of Ashdod, and could not speak in the Jews' language, but according to the language of each people. So what did Nehemiah do? And I contended with them, and cursed them, and smote certain of them, and plucked off their hair. And so what he was doing, he was applying the law in Deuteronomy, Salakia, Leviticus 19:17, where it says, Thou shalt not hate thy brother in thine heart, thou shalt in any wise rebuke thy neighbour, and not suffer sin upon him. And this is what Nehemiah was doing. He was rebuking our people for marrying the women of the other nations, and not social isolating ourselves from them. And I contended with them, and cursed them. This is Nehemiah 13:25, Salakia. And I contended with them, and cursed them, and smote certain of them, and plucked off their hair, and made them swear by God, saying, Ye shall not give your daughters unto their sons, nor take their daughters unto your sons, or for yourselves. It says, Did not Solomon, king of Israel, sin by these things? Because what did Solomon do? He ended up building idols to the gods of these women, of these other nations. So it says, Did not Solomon, king of Israel, sin by these things? Yet among many nations was there no king like him. He was beloved of his power, and the Most High made him king over all Israel. Nevertheless, even him did outlandish women cause to sin. So this has always been an issue when we've not social isolated ourselves from the women of the other nations. They've always caused us to go off and sin. It says, Shall we then hearken unto you to do all this great evil? This is what the Bible sees it as. When we pick up the women of these other nations and don't social isolate ourselves from them, it says, Shall we then hearken unto you to do all this great evil? The Bible calls it a great evil because it's always made the Most High upset, and it's always brought problems upon Israel for not following that law. So Nehemiah 13:27, Shall we then hearken unto you to do all this great evil, to transgress against our God in marrying strange wives? And like I said, this goes back to the beginning. Back in time, our forefathers, before we became a nation, the seed line of Adam, the sons of God, they looked on the women of these other nations and fell for their beauty. But all that did was cause us to go off and then peed the Most High off. And we ended up being judged. Now this is Ecclesiasticus, or Sirach, chapter 26 and verse 19. It says, My son, keep the flower of thine age sound, and give not thy strength to strangers. When thou hast gotten a fruitful possession, meaning you've gotten yourself a wife, a fruitful possession, through all the field, sow it with thine own seed, trusting in the goodness of thy stock. And what stock is that? Our stock are the sons of God. That's the goodness of the stock that we're meant to be trusting in. It says, When thou hast gotten a fruitful possession through all the field, sow it with thine own seed, trusting in the goodness of thy stock. So thy race, which thou leavest, shall be magnified, having the confidence of their good descent. And that good descent goes back to Adam, the sons of God. Now I'm going to close out with this one. This is Tobit chapter 4 and verse 12. It says, Beware of all whoredom, my son, and chiefly take a wife of the seed of thy fathers. Going back to what we read in Sirach, sowing it with thy own seed. So it says, beware of all whoredom. So us going with the women of the other nations, not social isolating ourselves from the women of the other nations, the scriptures refers to it as whoredom, which is not a good thing in the scriptures. It says, Beware of all whoredom, my son, and chiefly take a wife of the seed of thy fathers, and take not a strange woman to wife. These women of the other nations, the scripture deems them as a strange woman, which is not of thy father's tribe. For we are the children of the prophets. That's right. Noah, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Remember, my son, that our fathers from the beginning, even that they all married wives of their own kindred, and were blessed in their children, and their seed shall inherit the land. So, before our forefathers started to go off and looking at the daughters of these other nations, yeah, they were taking wives of their own stock. Yeah, but after that we started to go off, started to not social isolate like the Father told us. Now let me bring out one more precept and then I'll close out. Actually, I can come back here. Yeah, this is Deuteronomy chapter 7 and verse 6. Now it says, "For thou art an holy people unto the Lord thy God." It says that we are holy. Let's see what this word is. Yeah.
Strong's H, 6918. Kadosh. Kadosh.
When they say Kadosh, we say
Second
Kadosh.
entry. Kadosh. Kadosh.
Yeah, so it says here, sacred, holy, holy one, saint. So yeah, so the saint is also holy. Yeah, because when you look up saint, what comes up? Holy. And what does that mean also? Set apart. Yeah, meaning separate. Yeah, so when we come back to Deuteronomy chapter 7 and verse 6, it says, "For thou art an holy people, a set apart people unto the Lord thy God. The Lord thy God has chosen thee to be a special people unto himself, above all people that are upon the face of the earth." So the fact that we're not equal to these other nations, we are separate to them. Yeah, we're an holy people, a set apart people. So like I was saying, the scriptures itself, and there's other scriptures in there, you know, that teaches us that we are to social isolate ourselves from these other nations and from the women of these other nations. You know, not doing so has been one of the problems for us, which has gotten us into the situation that we're in now, why we're at the bottom. So coming back to the Lord, this is something we must practice, you know, social isolation, not picking up the women of the other nations, and women not picking up the men of the other nations, you know. And with that, I'm going to close out. I'm going to give all praises to Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahushai, Ba'ashem Rakah Kadash, Kwam Yasha Allah.